What you're listening to there are voices of angry constituents in the Swami magazine enclave of the Ashanti region. That is the constituents. Was chased away and pelted with sachet water amidst boos and chants. It took the swift intervention of the police to whisk him away to safety. Well, I want to bring in my colleague Ohiming Teria, who witnessed it all because he was in that constituency with the MP's entourage. Remember, he's also the majority leader in Parliament. Ohiming, what really happened?
Thank you, Evans. Today, Mr. Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu and leading members of the Swami Assembly, led by the Municipal Chief Executive, also joined by other officials, were on a visit to the Swami Melkru Road, which has been under construction. So the minister and the MP decided to take a walk from that point to a conference center which has been earmarked for a meeting between his entourage and the leadership of the Swami magazine artisans and the spare parts dealers. So it was within that period that the angry, agitated artisans started, following up, massing up in their numbers, from chanting war songs, and then also started pelting the Honorable Kyei Mensah Bonsu and his entourage with sachet water and some other items, because I also saw a husk of coconut being thrown at the entourage in that process. So the entourage managed to enter the conference room, which has been earmarked for that particular meeting. So whilst the entourage, some of them with the MP and some other officials, were up there in that story building, the artisans had massed up underground the story building, waiting patiently for the Member of Parliament, who has been an MP for the area for 28 years. So whilst they wait in the conference room, some of the officials tried to calm down the agitated artisans, but in this process, the artisans wouldn't stop and continued throwing the sachet water, pelted the officials, including some police officers who were around to provide security. So it continued for several minutes, delaying the meeting in that regard, because some of the participants were expected to enter the conference room. The youth had taken over the entrance and started, pelting anybody that they would see on site. So that delayed the meeting. And at a point, I could see Mr. Osei Kyei Mensah Bonsu, peeping through a glass window to see what was happening. Perhaps a lot was going through his mind. But later on, when the meeting started, he managed to address the artisans and the leadership who were around.
Yeah, we'll hear from you shortly. But fundamentally, from what I understand, this is because of the poor nature of the roads. Is it only in the Swami area or the Swami magazine enclave specifically?
Not at all. Even I spoke to several, angry artisans, and issues they raised, majority of them were not even in the Swami magazine enclave. Some were talking about rules in Kwabre, talking about rules in the hometown of Tejon. Some also mentioned, the current situation on the market. They go to their market and they are unable to attract buyers for their goods. So they talk about general, hardship in the country.
For 5 months, we have had to contend with dust. We do not make enough when we come to work, and now our health is threatened due to dust. We haven't seen the factories and dams promised by the government. See what they are now doing to us. The majority leader, who is our MP, only comes around to campaign, sharing money to drunkards for their votes. When election is due, our MP will organize football competition, offering 3,000 CDs to the winner. He neglects all developmental projects at the election. The MPP government keeps deceiving us. For 4 months, our wells are locked up. We can't display them due to the dust.
So I'm no police in free station, but now so man see how
I mean, it's obvious, Hemming, that the issues are indeed pretty varied. I wonder how Kyei Mensah Bonsu himself reacted to all this.
Yes, he took time to peep through the glass window to see what was happening down there. And I'm sure within going through his mind, he was surprised to have been met with this hostility from his constituents. And later on, he told journalists that, yes, he is not worried because he believes that, yes, they have legitimate concerns, especially when they want government and expect government to have reacted to their issues. So he says, because probably they were not informed or given fair information on the situation, that is how come they may have exploded. He explained.
Last week, here at Swami Magazine, there was a major demonstration. It had to do with the refurbishment of and reconstruction of the main highway that is from Swami Runabout through Markro to Efrancho. The road had developed several potholes and it was causing some accidents. And because of that, the Minister for Roads and Highways awarded a contract to a contractor to refurbish and indeed reconstruct the road. The contractor started work. Unfortunately, midway, he experienced acute shortage of bitumen. And having waited for about 2 weeks, he had to undertake to go to La Côte d'Ivoire to procure bitumen in order to be able to complete the works that he has started. In the meantime, there was massive dust on the road, which is a very busy road, and the artisans were complaining that dust are taken over. Of course, they deal in spare parts, they are mechanics, they deal in spare parts, and with the dust, when the dust settles on the parts, it makes them appear as old parts. And so they are not able to sell at the prices that they have determined to sell. Apart from that, inhaling the dust was also causing sicknesses amongst them. And that is what occasioned the demonstration. But fortunately, we've spoken to the contractor who has, as I said, been able to procure the bitumen, and within the next couple of days, is coming to complete what he has started. That is the reshaping of the road and the application of another overlay of asphalt. So in the next 3 days, the hope is that we'll begin applying the asphalt, and hopefully, let's say the next 2 weeks or 3 weeks, you should be able to finish with it. And with that, will bring considerable relief to the users of the road. But the reason why we are here, to assure the artisans that this is what is about happening, and also to appeal to them that in the very near future, government is going to begin the construction of the interchange at Swami. It is also going to cause some dust. And if it's difficult for them to tolerate this. It will also be very difficult for them to tolerate the other one, the major construction. So you need to come and speak to them to be on the lookout for this, so that when the time comes for the construction of the interchange to begin, people will not develop apprehension for the dust that may come up, because it's a necessary part of road construction. So it is the two reasons why I decided to come and talk to my countrymen and women, the workers at Swami Magazine. I've explained why. Yes, I'm the face of government. So if they are really angry that it's been a while since the scraping of the surface and dust is killing them, certainly when they see any government official, they will vent their spleen on the person. So I'm not worried. I need to explain to them. Maybe when the difficulty happened, we should have had an avenue to have engaged them earlier. If we had engaged them earlier, I believe this wouldn't have happened.
We can now speak to the Municipal Chief Executive for Swami, Maxwell Ofosu-Boakye. Mr. Ofosu-Boakye, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Okay, Evans, I'm here.
Great. So I hope Kyei Mensah Bonsu is safe and there were no injuries to him or his entourage.
Oh, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all. I was by him throughout the process, and we are in the same community. These are our people. These are the very people who have kept him for close to 28 years now. So it is frustration that they were expressing. They were just expressing rather their anger. So none meant to harm him in any way.
Okay. Stay with me, Maxwell, because Kyei Mensah Bonsu himself has just joined us on the telephone line right now. Mr. Mensah Bonsu, I'm grateful that you could join us on Top Story.
Thank you for having me.
You're safe?
I'm very safe.
We saw the pictures today. The police had to intervene. What happened?
Well, as you do know, last week there was a demonstration involving the artisans who were expressing discontent about the fact that the main arterial road traversing Swami, that is the central spine from Swami Runabout through the constituency, through Ofinsu to the north, had deteriorated. They had given it out contract to a major contractor who had started work and had peeled off the asphaltic overlay, which had developed potholes. Unfortunately, after he had done so, I think there was scarcity of bitumen in the system. And so the contractor was forced to stay further work on the construction. And the people couldn't understand. I think there was a communication gap. So the authorities ought to have communicated to the artisans the fact that they have run short of bitumen in the system, which had compelled the contractor to withhold continuance of work. As I said, unfortunately, the communication didn't get to the people on time. And the artisans, many of them are engaged in selling spare parts. The sale of these spare parts, because of the dust pile-up, would render them unattractive to people who want to purchase them. Don't forget that some of them deal in second-hand parts. So those of them who deal in second-hand, if they are dealing in new parts, anybody who goes to purchase will not know the difference between the brand new part and a second-hand item. So the artisans were saying that they were forced to reduce their wares, and that was not good enough. Second, of course, living in a dust, inhaling dust was also not good for their health. So these two things, plus the fact that after the contractor had left site and the rains had set in, the places, the portions that had been peeled off, then developed rails, and movement then became impeded. So there were threefold problems that they were facing, which is what occasioned the demonstration. So today, when I went to Kumasi, I wanted to use the occasion to go and appeal to them that I had spoken to the contractor. Fortunately, they had been able to procure bitumen from La Côte d'Ivoire and was going to start the asphalting, according to him, in 3 days' time. So to appeal to them to just maintain their calm and that the right thing will be done for them. So that was the purpose for going. And unfortunately, when I went there, I decided to walk instead of just being in the vehicle. We had agreed to meet at a conference center called Obuo Conference Center. So we were walking when we saw that when people identified me, they moved towards me and were expressing discontent. So I explained to them what had happened. And that first group, I guess I was able to still the waters. We moved ahead, and some of them, it looks like something was happening because some of them ran ahead, and then we were met by a second group who didn't want to listen to us. They said they wouldn't want to listen to any government official because they have stayed for quite a long time in the dust. We didn't want to listen to any government official. So we continued walking to the Obuo Conference Center, where we addressed the leaders of the artisans and the Traders Association, the Guta chapter, the magazine chapter of Guta, and that is the Ghana Union of Traders, and also some of the artisans, the leaders. We addressed them at the conference center. But there were some of them still there who apparently who didn't want to be part of it. But eventually, their leaders also joined us, and we addressed them, and then we had to leave eventually. So that's what happened.
Okay, and so as we speak right now, when will the project start?
The project, as I told you, started way back, about some 3 weeks ago, close to a month. Unfortunately, midway, we were hit by a scarcity of bitumen, and so he had to suspend the clarifying the road.
So when is it returning?
It's already returned. In fact, today when we went there, he was on site doing the compaction of portions of the road that is intended for bitumen, for asphaltic overlay. So he was in the process of doing the compacting. And the dust had also subsided significantly.
So, I mean, this is your constituency. And I know
That
some of you,
yes,
listen to you. Do you have a timeline when this will be done? When have you been told it to be completed?
As I said, even today, whilst I was there, the contractor himself was coming there. When he heard what was happening, he decided to stay put. And that wasn't because he didn't want to come and have a mix-up with the artisan. So it was a good decision. I am the face of government. So if they have to vent their anger on me, you take it in your stride. He's told me, as I said, that he's going to start the overlay in 3 days' time. When he starts doing that, you see, it's a dual carriageway. It's just clarified one side. After he's finished with that one side, he will then have to move to the other side of the carriageway. And so I'm looking at maximum the next 1.5 months or latest 2 months. You should be able to finish that stretch of road. The dual carriageway from Swami Runabout to Francho, which is the other constituency, that is Kwabri West. So it goes right to that place. That's what the case is.
I mean, this is a constituency that you've held on for decades. Surprised at what happened today?
Not really. As they say, an angry man is an angry man. Because there are some of them, those of them engaged in petty trading there, who live by the day. So if maybe the place is so dusty that he cannot sell his or her wares, he'll be angry. So I guess that explains it. But as I said, we will overcome because the man is on site. And where they are in particular is where the man has started the compacting yesterday. Yesterday was Sunday. I understand he went there yesterday to begin. So it will be well. It will be well. And it's good that you listen to the people as well.
Some of the voices we heard, you hear people complain beyond the Swami roads. They talk about roads generally in the Ashanti region. They talk about one district, one factory, something they don't have any in their constituency. You could hear other concerns other than just this particular road. Is this sentiment that you've heard too?
Well, some of them came to me when we were walking because it was about a 1 kilometer stretch that we did, and they came, in fact, it was more than 1 kilometer, about 1.5 kilometers. So some of them came to me as we were walking, complaining generally about roads, complaining about the one district, one hospital that they haven't seen in the constituency, even though there is one ongoing. But it looks like they didn't know about that. The MCE, when we went, explained to them what was happening. And then some would also say, talking about going to the INF and so on and so forth. The fact that generally conditions are hard in the country. So it moved beyond just the mere roads. And others were even raising some ethnic sentiments, which I thought was most unnecessary and not connected to the purpose for which I have gone there.
If this was a way of measuring the people's mood, from what you've explained, they have real deep concerns about almost everything. This will be what would you describe this as? If this was measuring the people's mood against the government in which you serve, in which you're a minister, you sit in cabinet, this will be a significant wake-up call, is it not?
Well, we all do know that as a nation we have challenges now. There's no hiding that fact. And in spite of that, government must work. And government must find an antidote to satisfy the needs of the people that will govern. As I said, the government is put in place to solve problems, not to explain away problems. So yes, we have explanations, but above everything, we should attempt to be solving these problems as well. So good to hear them, and good to hear that they are directing it at me, as perhaps the longest-serving member of the party in Parliament. So it's you measure their mood, and you can really see the anger in them. So it's very same to government, to the executive, that we must set up.
You think your colleagues in government, the finance minister, the president himself, the vice president, do they understand and identify with it? Do they understand what is happening on the ground, the way you've confronted it today?
Well, they are politicians, and what happened today, if the president had gone there, right, certainly it wouldn't get that close to the president, and they will not be able to express the anger the way they did, to me. So the respect, the esteem that they hold the president in would discourage some of them from doing that. Maybe equally so for the vice president. But those of us at the constituency level, we are the face of the party, we are the face of government. And so occasionally we should go visiting. And when these things happen, then it should provide a wake-up call for you as a member of parliament, for your government. Because the highway is the responsibility of government to fix, not the municipality. Right? It's not an urban road matter. It's a highway, it's a trunk road, and must be attended to by the ministry. But we also know that the ministry itself also has challenges. And particularly at this time when we have this engagement with the INF, we must do prioritization of what is intended to be done by government. But in prioritizing, there should be a priority list of the list that is prioritized. So that is where we are.
Yeah,
I think government will do what is right.
And I also hear views from the people we spoke to that there's a sentiment that this is your stronghold, the party, and they believe somehow they have been neglected in the sharing of the national cake. Is that a sentiment you've heard, and do you agree that in the overall scheme of things in the last 6 years, the Ashanti region has been neglected? Because that's a view we heard today.
Well, you see, when people talk about neglect, oftentimes they are relating to physical infrastructure. Evans, tell me, the free senior high, as Ashanti Bishop is the most populous region, so you expect that the kids in the region will outnumber the others. The people there are enjoying the free senior high, just like other regions are. So we will not say that we have been shortchanged. We will not say that the Agenda 111. In Ashanti, we say to ourselves that in terms of government hospitals, Ashanti as a region has perhaps the least government health facilities. We have maybe these religious bodies, Catholic Church, Methodist, the Ahmadi movement, all of them having hospitals of repute at various places. Government health facilities, really not too many. For instance, my own constituency, the route from Swami Runabout until you get to Bole, that stretch of road, until you get to Bole, there's no government health facility until you get to Bole. But you have health facilities at the Chiman, at Ofenso, at Wenchi. All of them are for religious bodies. So government is coming in now to remedy the situation to the extent that Swami now, we have a facility that is ongoing. I think it's at the linter level, So again, we're having these things that people don't really know about these things until you communicate to them. Today, one of them who came to the room, the conference center, asked this, where's our share of the Agenda 111? And the MC responded. He said, you say it's at Anomani. Tomorrow I'm going there to inspect. And an MC, if I go and there's nothing there, I'll come to your office. And we asked where he's staying. He's staying at Tafo. He is not in the constituency. But Tafo and Swami used to be one constituency. So if he's showing care for the people of Swami, well and good. But of course, he doesn't know that this thing has started. So there are certain things that people don't know. We need to really strengthen our communication. That is not to say that everything has been done for Ashanti. Roads, we have our fair share of roads. But, of course, being the most popular, people want to have many more. We always talk about one of our constituents, one of our MPs, who now bears the largest number of votes for MPP in Ashanti. Kwabri, I think it is Kwabri East or Kwabri Central. Francisca Osei Kyei Mensah, the daughter of Angel FM. Her constituency has perhaps one of the most deplorable roads in the country. You go to Manso area, vast stretch, again, roads not very good. Siwa, Posome constituency, that is also one area. So people expect, people are expecting to see road development in this state. But road construction is also going on. Now, Obuasi to the Kwai Junction to Obuasi, which had been in a very deplorable state, has been constructed. The Lake Road is being done. My own constituency, there are a few communities that now have their roads developed. Melkro, Old Swami, New Swami, and Bushakrua drains have been done. In Konchuma, drains have been done, and some construction of roads going on there. But is it very adequate and sufficient? Is it enough? People will say that we need more. So that is what it is. What we are able to do, we should also be able to communicate to the people so that they don't think that nothing at all is being done. Today somebody said so. That's Swami. We haven't seen anything. ever since he became the member of parliament, which is not true, right? So the MCE today, when we met, was going through a few of the things that have been done under my watch. I'm not saying that I have done them, because usually when you say that you have done them, it's like you have used your pocket money to do that. It's something that you have lobbied for, and it's come to you.
Yeah, and the state has sponsored it. I mean, I need to finally ask you. I mean, we saw the missiles being thrown at you, water sachet, water bottle, etc., etc. None hit you, did it?
No.
None hit you. Okay.
They were throwing the sachet water at the group that we were moving with, including even the police. There was one that was thrown in my direction, and the chief executive saw it, caught it in his hands. In the process, it splashed. The poly that was around it got torn. The water splashed, and then some really got into my glasses and the cap that I was wearing. But these are the vicissitudes of life and of a member of parliament representing the constituency. So I wasn't really hurt. And my own people, I used to be there, I used to own shops at magazine. And when they get agitated, you know what they can do. So I took them in my stride.
What did they attack your shops?
No, they are no longer there. I've long taken it down.
Okay. Kyei Mensah Bonsu, thank you very much. So that's Kyei Mensah Bonsu. Today he was the subject of very angry protests, as you just heard there. Missiles were thrown at him, including sachet water, bottles and sachet, water bottles, sachet water itself. We just explained that one of it was directed at him, splashed on himself. Newsnight right now.